So the date was exhausting, and by the time it finished, I would feel tired, and then I would get home to read my messages, and of course, I would usually have a message from my date saying, "Hey, I got home safe. Thanks for tonight, but I'm not interested in meeting up again."
Hi everyone, I'm Alex, and I help shy, introverted nerds get over their fears and anxieties to find their player too. Today I bring you Aaron, someone with whom we work together, to share his experience so that he can serve as inspiration for anyone who's single and feeling hopeless. Aaron, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, Alex. It's nice to be on.
So just to get started, what makes you a nerd?
Well, I think everybody's a nerd, right? About something. Things that I am into, I tend to kind of obsess over, which is sort of, I guess, like nerd behavior. And I've always, not on the outside, but on the inside, struggled with social interactions, social situations.
Mm-hmm. And what are the things that you're into?
Well, actually, to be honest, one of my hobbies is quite nerdy. Although people who aren't into it don't realize that it is, traditional nerds who are very into that. That's professional wrestling. I'm a big fan of. But other than that, I like, watching like sport, action movies or gangster movies, things that are not kind of typical nerdy things. I go to the gym a lot. But
you nerd out about that.
Yeah, like I can't just go to the gym like a regular person and lift some weights. Like when I start going, I'm watching, I'm on these deep dive 1 hour TED Talks and reading about like how this muscle does this and this and this and all these tiny little intricacies, which actually to the regular person make no difference. But yeah, I fall down these rabbit holes a lot.
That's so cool. So we started working together like 3 months ago.
Yeah.
And what do you remember about like before we started working together? Like what was your life like?
To be honest, I think you remember more about it than I do when we when we talked about it. Yeah. So I think I can't pinpoint where exactly I was when we started talking to each other, but I know during the time that we were and before that, I had a lot of feelings of like hopelessness. And that obsession that I talked about bleeds into everything that I do. So for context, I became single in autumn of 2023. So by the time you and I met each other, I'd been looking for about 18 months maybe. And I was on a lot of deep dives on there and a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of reading, a lot of, in this situation, say this. When she says this, do this. On a date, you must do this. And getting more and more and more anxious about every interaction that I was having because I was so much in my own head. And the more I didn't get the results that I wanted, the more I would overanalyze why that was happening and fall deeper into these rabbit holes.
Of like doing the right thing, right?
Yeah. And there isn't the difference between me sitting there and you're talking to me and the difference between someone who puts out a video where they try and make it as broad as possible is very different, because what the person that they're talking to probably doesn't look like me, sound like me, act like me. And in fact, most people don't, and probably most people listening to this don't look or sound or act like most people. So that advice may work for some people, but it just didn't work for me.
Yeah. So you were finding that you were trying to apply it and it just wasn't working. And then you got more anxious because it wasn't working and you kept looking for more advice on what's the right thing to do. And it still was not working.
Yeah, it comes naturally to me because of my job. So, I'm a programmer. So when I do something and I get an error message, I Google that error message, and someone on a forum or someone on Reddit or whatever tells me, hey man, when you get that error, well, not me, but I see, when you get this error message, you need to check this and this and this. So I was applying the exact same thing to dating, Oh, the girl said to you, she enjoyed your company, but she doesn't see you romantically. So I'd Google, what does that mean? And then people would, write, oh yeah, if that means this, that means you need to do more of this and you need to do more of this. And it was just information overloaded, really. And so much of it is conflicting. And you really struggle to process it all. And you start feeling worse and worse about yourself. Your self-esteem will massively suffer. The more you feel that feeling of hopelessness, basically.
Yeah, I find that almost all the time when I talk to people. They're like, oh, because I know that women are like this, so therefore I should apply. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Where did you get that from?
Yeah.
And like in your case, you were actually applying it, right? So like you had been using dating apps when we started.
Mm.
What was your experience with dating apps at the time?
Well, my experience with dating apps was that it was quite easy, not easy, but matches and dates were less of a problem for me than I think they were for maybe a lot of people who are listening to this. So I can't give loads of advice on that. But what I say is my dating profile was very safe, and it was very generic, and it was not boring, but it was designed to appeal to what I saw on other people's profiles they wanted me to say.
Mm-hmm.
And that led to meeting people who weren't so compatible with me, which I see now, but I didn't see at the time.
Yeah.
At the time, all I saw is I want to date someone, but I'd go on a date with them and then they reject me.
So it was like only one date over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, there were instances of two. I think there was an instance of three, but it was generally. I mean, I wouldn't even like to count the number. I think it's between 50 and 70. It's a lot. I mean, there were weeks where I'd go on 3 dates and the same thing: turn up, have a nice time, get rejected. Turn up, have a nice time, get rejected. It was draining. Yeah.
Yeah. You say draining. Can you say more about that?
Well, it was draining because you go on the date and you spend so much time thinking about it, and what kind of I would stress. I mean, I'm quite anxious naturally anyway, so I would stress over a lot of small details. Where we're going to go, it needs to be here that she can get to. It needs to be this kind of vibe. It can't be too this. It can't be too that. I need to wear this. When I get there, I need to make this much eye contact. I need to do this. I need to, I need to try and accidentally touch her, or, things like that.
I like how I have to try to accidentally touch her.
Yeah.
Make it look like an accident.
Yeah. Well, not an accident as such, but like subtly, like,
yes.
that was the thing that you would read all the time. Like I would read all the time. Oh yeah, like try and make an excuse to make some physical contact with her, and that creates a connection. And yeah, so the date was exhausting, and by the time it finished, I would feel tired, and then I would get home to read my messages, and of course, I would usually have a message from my date saying, "Hey, I got home safe. Thanks for tonight, but I'm not interested in meeting up again." yeah, and there was that. And then, I mean, anyone who's online dated knows that there's a lot of flaky people as well who say that they want to meet up, but then never actually make the plans. Or I had someone who made plans for a phone call. It was one of those apps where you can call each other through the app. And then I got home in time to call her, and she'd unmatched. So
Right.
that kind of stuff, I don't think you can avoid, but you can definitely avoid a lot of the other stuff that the traps that I fell into.
Like the traps, you mean the following scripts and feeling like it has to be a certain way.
Yeah, and I mean, this is more male specific advice because I think we all know how the balance of matches is. So you can get disheartened by how few matches you get, and then that can lead to doing what I did. Sorry, something's flying at me, and creating a very broadly appealing profile in and doing what you can, just focusing on increasing your matches. But with both online and offline, what matters more than quantity is quality. You can fall into the trap that I did, and that's not me going like they're poor quality women. They are not a good match for me.
Yeah. Which is a big
So
difference.
yeah, so quality is probably the wrong word there, but it's like compatibility.
Yeah.
Um, and compatibility is not necessarily hobbies, um, but it is often something a bit deeper than that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you were struggling both in person and with the dating apps before we started working still. Do you remember like what had you tried to sort of fix this? Like you were going on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah, so my solution to dating apps not working was to double down on dating apps. I before we started working together, this was
Yes, yes.
i.e. download more dating apps, spend more time on dating apps, send more likes, spend more time reading about how to fix my profile, try and get new photos, all this kind of stuff. Yeah, and then that obviously leads to even more time spent on dating apps, which creates even more rejection and even more
Yeah.
problems, right?
Yeah. If I remember correctly, you had also been working with another dating coach and with a therapist, correct?
Yes, I worked as a dating coach briefly, which was good and gave me quite a lot of insight into how kind of modern dating worked, having been out of the dating game for I think 6 or 7 years at that point. And it changed a lot. Like apps weren't a very dominant thing when I was last dating. Like people were on them, and I'd met people from them, but I think I only knew one person who was in a relationship from a dating app. Yeah, so I mean that I kind of learned like that, and I learned some behaviors to implement and things like that. And then you mentioned a therapist as well, right?
Yep.
Yeah, therapy is like really really key. Like really, like when you before you go to therapy, you'll speak to someone who else has been to therapy, because of course you will, and they'll say therapy's the best thing they ever did. And then you'll go to therapy for 2 months and be like, well, it's not the best thing I ever did, but after a while it takes a long time. Like speaking to you and your methods and therapy are the two things that are most opposite to dating apps,
Mm-hmm.
because dating apps focus on speed.
Yeah.
I want to see as many people as I can, and I want to talk to as many people as I can as fast as I can, and I want to meet up with them as soon as I can. And then that will make me feel better. Whereas in therapy, it's a very, very slow process.
Mm-hmm.
And you do feel better, but it takes time, and you almost don't notice when you do feel better until a while after you have been feeling better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the therapeutic process is not, for the most part, goal-oriented. So
No.
it's more about like exploration, what comes up, processing. It's a different beast, and it takes time. It takes absolutely time. Yeah. I'm curious, and I mean, I don't want to trash talk another, like, let's say, colleague in a sense. With the dating coach that you worked, I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, you told me during our discovery call that the dating coach had given up.
I wouldn't say that. No, I wouldn't say that she'd given up. But I do feel like I had given up, but I felt like she didn't necessarily have an answer, which wasn't a criticism, because I didn't have an answer either as to why this kept happening. Yeah, and it is difficult to find an answer when you speak to someone who, I think the majority of her clients were women.
Mm-hmm.
And most women will come and correctly say, you know, I meet these guys who are like disrespectful, or they don't know how to talk, or they're flaky or whatever. So when you, in her position, when you encounter someone who's the opposite to the people that your clients are having problems with, it's difficult to diagnose what might have been going wrong there.
Right. So like, you weren't her target audience, let's say, or the type of people she usually worked with.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah, perhaps. I know she did have some male clients as well.
At some point, you said, I mean, like, you mentioned that you had given up yourself. So it wasn't the coach; it was you had given up. Yet you reached out to me. What made you reach out to me?
Well, I think we kind of ran into each other on Discord, right? And you had a kind of unique approach of speaking to people, in that you always like reflected back. So someone would say, I did this and I did this and I did this, and then this happened. And you wouldn't say, yeah, that's because you did this, or you should do this, or have you tried this? And you would reflect back and say, well, why do you think that happened? And they would say, oh yeah, because of this. And you and I had almost the same interaction on Discord, and it was just very thought provoking. And because I would come back and I would say, well, that happened because of this. Well, how do you know that? Right.
That sounds like me. Yes.
Did she tell you that? Oh no, she didn't tell me that. But that's just how women are, right? That's what they do.
Of course.
Okay. Have any women told you this before? Oh well, yeah. And it was thought provoking, and I'd read and seen so much that was all saying different flavors of the same thing. I said I watched like so many different YouTube channels and read all these different things, but when you take a step back from it, it's Coke, Diet Coke, Coke Zero, right? And what you were giving was like, I don't know, a smoothie or something like that. It was
okay. I'll take it.
yeah, it was really different, and it made me think internally. Um, Everybody wants to hear that something is someone else's fault. And I'm not saying that you were saying to me it was my fault, but you were saying just to look at things differently, and rather than keep trying to do more of the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's not me and it's not everyone else. It's just my approach or the situations that I'm putting myself in.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be anyone's fault.
Yeah.
Or like nobody has to be wrong, let's say, to put it a different way. Yeah. So you reached out to me. We jumped on a discovery call. What were you expecting that the process of working with me would be like? What did you think it involved?
I can't remember, but I do remember at some point having thoughts of like, and again, this is just like programmer brain, of, you know, very structured, almost like how to build an IKEA table or cupboard kind of thing. You know, you do this and then you do this and then you do this and then you do this. And it wasn't that. It was try this. Let's see how it works out for you. If it doesn't work out, let's see why it didn't work out for you. Maybe the reason that it didn't work out for you means it's not for you. Or maybe the reason that it didn't work out for you means you need to change your mindset about it a bit. Or maybe you think it didn't work out for you, but actually all these positive things happened, which is the thing that happened the most when I would say to you, like, oh, yeah, I went to this thing. How did it go? I'm not very well. You know, this and that and that. And then, okay, but did you talk to anyone? Yeah, I spoke to this person. But that's good, though, isn't it? Oh, yeah, I suppose it is, right?
Yeah, it's often hard, like when you're from the inside, like looking at all the progress you've made. Like I find like part of the benefits of coaching that you cannot get by watching YouTube or even doing stuff is really like noticing what happened, right? What went well. Yeah.
Yeah. Because in my head, like, and I think a lot of people like this, you're just naturally like goal oriented. So I go to a meetup or I go to a class or whatever, and there's nobody there who I'm thinking, well, I connected with her or I could date her or whatever. And then in my head, my first thought is, well, that was a waste of time, wasn't it? But then you were very good at reframing it, and not like spinning it,
Mm-hmm.
but reframing it to be like, no, hang on, you did achieve this. And if you go back, then this could happen. Or you could meet somebody through this person. Or there's someone there who you'd be friends with. Yeah, sure, I'd be friends with that guy. Oh, yeah, you could be friends with that guy. And maybe he knows someone who, you know, like that kind of open mindedness was something I really needed a push with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think part of it is what you were saying before about like going on Reddit and being like, oh, you do A, B, C, and that's how you get. Whereas I find that that's not how life works for the most part.
No, and I think the main takeaway of everything that you do and everything that you say is the most old and cliched bit of advice ever, but it is correct, which is just be yourself.
Yep.
And as we've discussed, being yourself sounds easy,
Yes.
but actually really isn't, because you naturally want other people's approval.
Yeah.
And you'll act in a way that is not your true self, and it's hard to drill down to that.
Yeah. What did you find when you started just being yourself?
You find that people are more receptive to you than you think they would be. Like for me, it was like a lot of the not being myself came from like avoidance of conflict.
Yeah.
Or just a need to please someone or whatever. But actually, most people don't mind that much if you disagree with them, or if you say that you don't like something that they like, or if you are upfront about yourself or vulnerable. People are less judgmental than you would think.
Mm-hmm.
And it brings you closer to people who are similar to you, because they don't know that they're similar to you until you tell them.
Until
Right?
you show it.
Yeah, until you show them.
Yeah.
So it changed my interactions with people a lot. And you also find out the opposite. You also find out people that you maybe thought were a certain way are a bit different, because you become vulnerable with them, and that makes them vulnerable with you, and you find out good or bad things about them that you didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Like, it sounds like it makes you closer to people. Like, you deepen connections.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely does. Like, there's a difference between saying, this thing happened to me, and this thing happened to me, and I felt like this.
Yeah.
The second one is much harder to do.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I say to you, for instance, to give an example, I was walking home from work yesterday, and I stopped to find something on my phone, and someone came by on his bike and tried to snatch it.
Oh, wow.
It fell on the ground. I picked it up. I was fortunate, right? If I say to you, hey, Alex, this thing happened to me, that may have never happened to you. But if I say to you, you know what, that happened to me, and as soon as it happened, I felt really scared and I felt edgy as I was going home, you might say to me, you know, that I felt like that when someone did this to me.
Mm-hmm.
So it opens up a lot more connection and ways to relate to people.
Which are more genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did that translate to dating?
So I think initially, it kind of translated well to just speaking to strangers in general.
We're not talking cold approaches, though.
Not at all, no. This is...
I just want to clarify.
Yeah,
That's not what we did.
yeah. No. I didn't do any cold approaches. I'm talking about I went to like exercise classes and book clubs and meetups and things like this, and a technology meetup. And it translated well to that. And that was kind of almost like a lower pressure ground to just get used to talking like that.
Mm.
And in terms of dating, when I was going on a date, I felt less nervous, because I wasn't thinking about everything I was going to do to please her and impress her. I was thinking about, I'm going to go meet someone and I don't have all these rehearsed conversation topics in my head. I don't have all these things. I must bring up this. And when she does this, I must do this. I'm just going to go there and I'm going to see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. And it made it easier to listen as well. And this is something people might not realize, because when I was speaking to someone, not just in a dating context, because I was thinking so much about who they wanted me to be, or how can I frame myself like this? Like, what should I be saying? When someone was talking to me, I was listening, but what I was doing was thinking about what I need to say next. All the time, like the cogs were turning. And that leads to, even though you hear what they say, you don't listen properly. And instead you say something which you might have thought you're going to say 35 seconds ago, because then they were still talking, right?
Yeah.
And you miss the real point that they were trying to get across to you.
Yeah.
So it
Because you were
made
so
my
fixated.
interactions, exactly, and it made my interactions on dates so much better. And I just talked about stuff that I felt like talking about, rather than having in my head, you must ask her about this and you must make sure that you ask her about that. And I had more fun.
You actually had fun.
Yeah. I'd meet people and we would have more fun. I would feel more relaxed.
Yeah.
I wouldn't feel so tired when I got home, right?
And what about the messages of had a nice time, but see you later?
There were still those, but I was going on fewer dates because I was suddenly less attractive to certain types of people. But I would still get those messages, but I had my ratio of second dates increased a lot. And just general, people wanting to see me again. I mean, there were cases where people would want to see me again, but I wasn't perhaps interested, or which never happened before. Before, it was only one way,
Yeah.
or people would, I'd get like a compliment on a date, about oh, you're emotional intelligence, or things like that, which I'd never had before.
Yeah. You even went on with at least one person that I remember. You went on quite a few dates as well.
I think 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was, yeah. She was pretty great, and it felt like I was being me. I think if you're not being you, you might get to 3 or 4 dates, but with every single one, you're getting closer and closer to being discovered, really.
Yeah.
And it sounds so nefarious, and it like you're doing something dishonest, which you're not. Like, you're just trying to be something that you're not, and it's not out of malice. But then when you get rejected because your personality doesn't match who you were on the first date, or who your online persona was, it is confusing. But that's often at the core of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you're saying, it's not malice. I think it's driven by a desire to do the right thing.
Mm.
Right? It's like, what's the right thing to say? What's the right thing to do? It's not malice.
Yeah, it's you trying to be who you think they want you to be.
Mm-hmm.
But you already are unique, right? Because you are you. And once you're you, then that's it. Like nobody can be you except for you. Like someone could try, but it's going to come off as, you know, if I came on here today and there was someone who was dressed like you and started trying to talk like you, I would go, I'm not sure I like this guy because
Yeah.
he's not Alex. He's just trying to be Alex.
Yeah.
And I think even if you don't know that, like, I'm not saying the people that I was meeting was necessarily consciously detecting that in me. It is kind of something a little bit under the surface that you get the feeling that something's not quite right.
Yeah. Yeah. It feels incongruent.
Mm.
Yeah. And also, like, I think a big factor that many people miss is that not everybody wants the same things. Right. And so if you learn to do the right things, which could be right for a certain person, that doesn't mean that they're right for everybody.
No, and you could be hiding something about yourself that they would really like.
Yeah.
You know, and in the case of, I think a lot of people who'd be listening to this, the kind of default mentality is to, I'm trying to think of a nerdy thing. I don't know many. Maybe you don't tell her that you love League of Legends because you think, well, you know, girls don't like that if you love League of Legends.
Yeah.
But maybe she doesn't love League of Legends, but maybe she loves people who are passionate about things. And if you're really passionate about League of Legends, then she loves that. I mean, I'm like that. I love to see someone who's really passionate about something, even if it's something I know nothing about, I don't care about it. I think it's a really attractive quality to have a hobby that you really care about.
Yeah. For many people, I think that's the case. Right. And that doesn't mean info dumping and just talking about your hobby. It's about, like we were saying before, right? It's like, how do you feel about it? How does it make you feel? What do you enjoy? What do you enjoy about it?
And I think that's something that women are quite good at sharing.
In general, yeah.
Yeah. Because, like I say, my nerdy hobby is professional wrestling, and it has come up speaking to women before, like, you know, what are you doing this weekend? Oh, I'm going to the wrestling show. What is wrestling? And if I explain to them in great detail what wrestling is, they're going to think I'm totally insane because, like, why do you watch that thing where people jump off ladders and cut themselves and, you know, do whatever, right?
And they
But if I
pretend to
say,
fight.
yeah, oh no, they're not really. They're on the same team, but they're you know. But if I say, you know, well, it's kind of silly, and that's what I like about it. And when I was a kid, I used to love watching it. It was something that me and my cousins all did together, and it has that kind of nostalgia to me and that feeling. People get that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rather than, yeah, like you say, info dumping about, I don't know, what your high score is on whatever, or your favorite Twitch streamer, or stuff like that.
Or which wrestler was with which other one and what they were friends, and then like the whole like drama that I don't know anything about wrestling. I just know that they have like really convoluted scripts sometimes.
There's lots of betrayal.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of betrayal. Lots of betrayal. Like if you
There's lots of
start diving into that before sort of like sharing why you're passionate about it, then yeah.
Mm.
But like what you just shared, I was like, dude, that sounds amazing. Like I felt it. I felt it.
Yeah. And the thing is that why I say women are better at this kind of thing in general is because if you say to a woman, I love wrestling or I love this video game, very often in my experience, they will say to you, what do you like about it?
Mm-hmm.
Um, or, you know, or why do you like it?
Yeah.
And that's them like prompting you, like, show me more of yourself.
Yeah. Not of the thing, but of yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Many years ago, during the pandemic, actually, a friend of ours had just gotten a dog and she was taking the dog out of the apartment and the dogs were like going to a fight with another dog from the like a neighbor's dog. And this was like pandemic, bunch of us on Zoom, and she like so like paused the story at some point. And I was like, what happened then? What happened then? But my female friends who were in that call were like, how did you feel? And I was like, what do you mean, how did she feel? Like, I want to know what happened. Like, I want to know what's the rest of the story is.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's a very feminine thing to ask that we're maybe not used to, right?
Yeah. Like if you hear two guys talking about football or wrestling or whatever, it's facts.
Yeah.
That's what we like statistics, like facts. In
Stereotypically,
general,
yeah.
of course, yeah, it's very, very generalization, but
Yeah.
um, but yeah, like doing this kind of work and having in your mind that you're gonna be yourself, and being yourself, like you say, means showing yourself, and part of that is like knowing yourself as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there has to be that kind of introspection. Sometimes when you would ask me a question, I knew how I felt and I would tell you, but I didn't know how I felt until you asked me,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
What was the value in knowing how you felt?
It helps you understand yourself more. And you can see patterns in behavior. You know, if you try and piece together all the things that you do, only looking at the things that you do, you can, of course, notice patterns. But you may react to the same thing differently at different times. And if you know when I feel like this, it's important to know both, I guess. But it's like when I feel like this, I can think this, or I can do this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when I feel rejected, I will start to ruminate.
Yeah.
When I feel rejected, I will start to blame other people, right? And you have to look at how you felt when something happened rather than just what happened. And until you get good at sharing that, my brain, I don't know about anyone else's brain, but my brain doesn't always do that when I'm alone. It just looks at stuff that happened. So if you say to me, which you often did, well, how did you feel when that happened? Or why didn't you want to do that?
Mm-hmm.
With two like conversations, or I would say to you, I don't want to go to this thing. And you would say, okay, but what actually worries you about it? And that's when you start to notice patterns. It's actually not that I don't like that town, or, I don't like that activity, or I don't like places that have this kind of building. I imagine a negative outcome and start to think of other reasons why I don't want to do something.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're mentioning places now. Something that I found interesting was that when we first talked on Discord, I helped you brainstorm places to go to meet people, but you didn't go. And
No.
only once we started working together, then you started going.
Yes. That is another benefit. There is a degree of accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you and I talk and we say, okay, well, we're going to talk again next week, and by next week, you've got this thing on Friday, so you're going to have been to that, and you're also going to have emailed this person about this other thing. And then if you don't do it, it's like turning up to your class and going, well, actually, I haven't done the homework. And, the teacher says, well, if you haven't done the homework, then we can't do what we needed to do today.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of accountability. If you read books about willpower and things like that, a thing that comes up a lot is accountability partners.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a very small aspect of what you do, but it is still an important one.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's what got you to start doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't really take long. I think it took maybe, I would say for me, it felt like within the 2-month mark, you were like, everything's good. Life is good. All's good. I'm like,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember you saying to me, I looked different.
Yeah.
And I thought about it, and it's just, I feel like I had more energy, for one. And I don't know, I was just taking a bit more care in general. And just, it was these small little confidence boosts along the way that were giving me the overall confidence to start developing better habits.
What were those small confidence boosts? What caused them?
It was pretty much, the main thing was when we talked on Discord, and then when we first started talking, it was kind of like, okay, well, I understand what you're saying, but I can't do this. This, if I go to these places, then it's not going to go well for me, because, well, I think one of my excuses was, well, I live in London, and no one likes anyone here.
Nobody wants to hang out in London.
Yeah, no, everybody in London just wants to stay indoors, and nobody wants to do anything. And people in London, they don't want to make new connections. They're very happy with their group that they've got. I think I mentioned to you that it was really common when I used to use Reddit, which I don't anymore. But when I used to use it, it was really common on the London Reddit. There would be a thread every other day saying, look, I'm new to the city and I don't have any friends. And then everyone would reply and say, yeah, you can't make friends here because everyone's already got their friend groups. And I can't remember if it was you. It does sound like something you would have said, but it's like, but hang on, why don't all these people talk to each other? You know, so the fact that there are so many people saying they can't make friends means there's loads of people who are looking to make friends.
Yeah.
So yeah, just getting out there, I was really surprised about how receptive people were. Now, this is a very unfriendly city. I stand by that. If you go to other cities in the UK and you walk up to someone at a bus stop or on the train or in a shop, they'll be perfectly happy to have a chat with you. In London, if you walk up to someone in a pub, in a bus stop, whatever, they're going to think you're insane, and they're going to. But if you are somewhere with them doing the same thing for the same reason, chances are they're probably there because they want to meet new people as well.
Yeah. And you found quite a few places to meet people as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of places to meet people, and I didn't love all of them,
Sure.
but I definitely realized that there are a lot of activities in this city which are activities which like revolve around, we're going to do this thing, but also we're going to have a coffee afterwards or have a drink afterwards. Anyone who's listening to this from the UK knows that everything here involves alcohol.
Yep.
And that was when I said to you that there's so many things that involve alcohol. There are even things here for people, specifically only for people who don't drink, because everything can get alcohol dominated here. But yeah, if you're from the UK, you'll probably know about like Park Run. Park Run is where you can go to your park on a Saturday morning and run 5 kilometers. Now, you can go ride 5 kilometers anytime you want, but there are some park runs in the UK where 1,700 people go on a Saturday morning. Yeah, to run with, 1,700 other people when they could go an hour earlier or 2 hours later and run in the same park. And they do that because they have coffees afterwards, they have picnics afterwards. There's like other activities planned. I mean, that's the biggest one is 1,700. The one near me is about 300.
Sounds like nobody wants to meet, man.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I just didn't. When I kept saying that and you kept asking me about things, you would say, but it sounds like those people want to meet someone. Oh yeah, those people do. But in general, no one wants to meet anyone. Yeah.
I do remember, if you let me share, I do remember one moment where you were telling me everybody wants to meet. Like all these meetups are getting full so fast. Like everybody wants to meet. I'm like, didn't we talk about the opposite last week?
Yeah, I found something and I told you about it. I can't remember what it was now.
I think it was tech meetups.
About it. It was a tech meetup. That was it.
Yes.
And I said it was a tech social, and and it was quite niche. It was for a very specific application that I work on, and that a lot of businesses use. And it was really niche. I was like, yeah, I found this thing. Like, I might go. And you were like, great, sign up for it. So I kind of like delayed it and I didn't. And then the next time we spoke, I said to you, you said, did you sign up for that thing? I said, no, it was fully booked. I said, you can't get on any of these things. They're always full.
But nobody wants to meet.
Yeah. No, and then I think nobody wants to meet in person.
Yes.
That was another thing I started saying. I said that about the tech meetups. I said, oh yeah, but the tech meetups, the in-person one, no one goes to those. Everyone wants to do it online. Tech guys don't want to leave their house.
And then suddenly they're all sold, like booked out every single time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of like meetups, how do you find that socializing in person helped you with online dating? Right? Because like, I'm not against it, but it's not something that I like particularly teach or help with. But like you were mentioning, going on more dates. I know that many of those dates were from dating apps. Like, how do you feel
Yeah,
that socializing in person helped you with online dating?
because it's the same thing. So, um,
Surprise!
yeah, talking to a person is talking to a person. Those people on the dating app are real people.
Yeah.
They exist out. They are not pixels on your screen. That's a real person. And when you meet them and you interact with them, that is interacting with a stranger, whether you've spoken to them online for 3 days or 3 months. And I know these days nobody wants to speak online to anyone for 3 months. They
Yeah.
want to meet up, you know, within 5 or 6 messages. It's a total stranger. And going to a meetup, for instance, and going to a meetup is easier to speak to a stranger because when you sit down opposite that person on the online date from the online dating app, it's, hey, how are you? Yeah, I'm good. What did you do today? Right? When I speak to someone at the book club, first thing you say to them is not, hey, what you been up to? It's, what do you think of the book? Or, well, the funny thing about the book club is not everyone who goes to the book club every month even reads the book. They just go to have a chat. So sometimes people ask you, did you read the book? Oh, yeah, I read the book and I thought this and this and this. Oh, yeah, actually, it reminded me of this. And it's surprising how quickly chatting about the book evolves into chatting about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Because, yeah, I read this book and it reminded me of this book that I read in school in Italy. Oh, you're Italian? And you're from there. Oh, Italian. Well, I've always wanted to visit. Where are you from? And it's more natural,
Yeah.
but it's like the gym. It's like repetitions in a sense. Because if you go to something as well, you don't just go to speak. It's guaranteed you don't just speak to one person. You'll speak to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people sometimes in a night, and they're all different. And for me, it kind of lowered that anxiety of speaking to a new person. People that know me well wouldn't think of me as anxious because I'm not anxious around someone that I know well.
Mm-hmm.
But I am very anxious around a new person. And unfortunately, there are things that you can read, there are things that you can watch that will help. But the same as going to the gym, you can look up a workout routine on YouTube, but you actually have to go and do it to build some
Yes.
muscle. And going to meetups for me was doing my workout routine.
Yeah. And then once you went on a date from the dating app, you already had that muscle, like
Yeah,
more exercised and developed.
exactly.
Yeah. How's your anxiety about that now? About like meeting new people?
It. I don't think it's something that will ever just go away. I think I could be wrong. There might be people who. I read a book by a psychiatrist about who had severe social anxiety, and she wrote a book about how to get over social anxiety, and she still suffers from it.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do is reduce it and recognize it, because I didn't even know that I had it until it was pointed out to me. So you can reduce, you can recognize it, and you can recognize that behavior. And in the point where you recognize that feeling, when you know what it is, it becomes a lot easier to deal with.
Yeah. Makes absolute sense. Yeah. I don't want to take much more of your time. Is there something you would like to say to people listening, maybe people who were in your shoes before, that we haven't talked about?
I think, just to reiterate the point, don't fall down those social media. I mean, I don't use social media, so for me it was like YouTube, Reddit, whatever. Don't fall down those rabbit holes. But I think an advice a bit about meetup, and I know you agree with this as well, like going to the meetups, the ones that are advertised as come here to make new friends. I personal thing, I don't recommend those. I do recommend stuff which is centered around, we are going to do this thing together. And when we come next week or next month, we're going to do the same thing together. Rather than, I think, because I went to a couple of them, and maybe before I spoke to you, I think I went to a couple like that. And it was
a couple like that, the ones that are for making friends.
Yeah, make friends. And we've organized like a quiz or a bar crawl or something like that. And it creates, I think, too much of a pressured environment. It feels a bit like going to like speed dating or something like that.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah.
Awesome, Aaron. Thank you so much for coming, and thank you for sharing this. I'm sure that it's going to be super useful for people. So, yeah, thank you so much.
If it can even help one person, I'd be very happy. So,
yeah, I'm sure it will. Yeah. And everybody watching and listening, if you have any questions, just drop a message, send me a DM at datakernerd and anywhere, or an email at dm@datakernerd.com. And yeah, take care and continue playing.